Hello, welcome back to the You Were Lied To series. In each episode, I take about 10 minutes to break down a cultural issue that we've all been lied to about. Subscribe if you like the series. Today we're going to be learning how to become millionaires.
5 habits that will make you a millionaire.
Number 1 is to make time for a 10-minute workout.
Number 1, wake up early. The early bird gets the worm.
One of the things that I started doing was beating the sun up every morning.
Number 1 is reading more books.
Obvious. Reading. Bill Gates, Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk's, Warren Buffett.
Number 2, meditate.
I'm going to beat that sun up every morning so that I have the discipline and the control over my life.
Number 3, drinking tons of water.
3, hydrate.
I knew before that thing pops, I'm going to pop.
Follow for more success habits.
I knew before that thing pops, I'm going to pop.
Number 4, exercise. Move your lazy. And number 5, eat healthy.
I'm going to get out of bed, depend on myself, get up at the same time every day, so it gives me a sense of control over my own life.
I knew before that thing pops, I'm gonna pop.
In today's video, we're going to be looking at this whole millionaire habits thing and just sort of laughing about it. And stick around to the end of the video because at the end, I'm going to give you my top 5 signature Kelgore list of things to be a millionaire habits. Trust me, you won't want to miss number 3. Okay, so this whole phenomenon started with books like The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People and other similar media. This idea that we can look at people who are already wealthy and analyze how they behave and what they do, and if we copy them, we can do it too. That book came out in 1989, but I'm pretty sure it wasn't the first in terms of like millionaire habits. Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich in 1937, and that was all about like the 13 principles that rich people have. He ended up being a complete fraud and a scammer, but that's honestly like kind of a story for another video. He set the stage for what self-development would look like for about a century now. 7 Habits was followed by Atomic Habits, Change Your Habits, Change Your Life, The Miracle Morning, etc., etc., etc. There are a zillion of them, and they're all the same. If we were to take all of these books and videos and infographics and melt them all down and come up with a master list of like the top 5 millionaire habits and other empty advice, this is what it would look like. Number 1, wake up early. Number 2, read a lot. Number 3, exercise. Number 4, journaling or goal setting. And number 5, work smarter, not harder. Every single one of these self-help books also has like a signature system they come up with, right? The author's signature method for how to break down your big goals into smaller, more achievable goals. Or it's some acronym to remind you like how to prioritize your life. The problem is, doing this stuff is not going to make you rich. It's just not. Like, you can wake up, you can jog, you can take cold showers, but your surfboard rental company based in Phoenix, Arizona is not going to do $1 million in revenue this quarter. Let's go back and let's take a look at each one of these habits. Wake up early. This is always the first one on every single list. They're just like obsessed with it. Is it real? My guess is that it's always first on the list because it's very like concrete and actionable advice. Whereas they might put something like focus on what's important later on the list because that's a little more like subjective and abstract, right? I tried to find the science behind this, and really all I can find is people saying that it's either going to give you more hours to work or it's simply going to give you more control over your schedule. For example, if you wake up at 4 a.m., nobody else is awake yet, there are no distractions, nobody's going to be calling you, there's probably not a lot going on like in the news yet, nothing like that is happening. They also love to add little addendums. For example, never hit snooze, or like when you hear the alarm go off, count down from 10 and then get up as fast as you can, and like little things that I don't know, they can just add to this chapter. My neighbor is being very, very noisy. I should have done this at 4 a.m. Mornings are great, especially if you're a morning person. But in general, there isn't any science that says like being up earlier in the morning is gonna make you wealthy. If so, why aren't construction workers and swing shift security guards like the richest men on earth? They're also either going to tell you that you need a solid 8 hours of sleep, or it's going to be one of those books that tells you that actually 5 hours is fine, you don't need 8. Whatever it is, these people are very interested in changing your sleep habits. Number 2 is read a lot. They'll say something like, Bill Gates reads 1 book every day, or Warren Buffett reads 50 pages with breakfast. Personally, I think it's just a scam by big books to sell more books, but I have what's known as a scarcity mindset. Reading is important, but part of me wonders if the reason they always put this in there is just to sound legitimate. Now they can throw in a bunch of science about how reading is good for your brain and throw in some studies that have been done. It adds merit to their list. And you're like, wow, this is backed by science that says reading is good. It's super lazy advice, and I highly, highly doubt that millionaires or billionaires read nearly as much as people say they do. The other thing is, for the most part, reading is a leisure activity. Reading can be a cheap hobby, like if you have, a library card. But the thing is, if you're someone who works a shitty job and you commute and you don't have a nanny or a personal chef or something, you might not have time to read every single day, especially if you're also doing all this other hustle and grind shit. So their advice is basically like, make time for reading. But that seems like something you're gonna have a lot more time for after you're rich. You gotta kill the time somehow. Whatever, reading's cool. I hope you have time for reading, but I also know some real dumbasses who read a lot, and I'm not really convinced. Exercise. They love this one. Again, it seems like a no-brainer. There's not like a doctor or scientist out there who's gonna be like, don't exercise, stop moving, everybody, like, duh. And since it isn't controversial, they can instead spend the whole chapter, saying how you need to make time for exercise and time management and all this stuff. And then they can name the chapter something stupid like, investing in your health is investing in your wealth, or something like that. But again, the biggest thing here, obviously, is that exercising doesn't make you rich. It just doesn't. And not to mention the fact that I can think of so many rich dudes that are so addicted to booze and pills and steak that they can barely even take the stairs without wheezing. Journaling and goal setting. This is another one of those kind of cheap answers to me. They're like, hey, you should wake up every day and write down, 3 things you want to achieve, or 3 things you're grateful for, or 3 things you'd like to change, right? And the thing is, journaling or goal setting might have some effect on your life. Journaling's great. I think writing down your thoughts and feelings can be super, healing and helpful. But do you really think that Jeff Bezos has a diary? Are you kidding me? The thing with goal setting is it's probably going to help you focus a little bit. I'd say go for it, but again, this has got to be one of the laziest pieces of advice I've ever seen, and it will not make you rich. Work harder, not smarter. You could probably just swap this one out with something like have multiple streams of income, outsource small tasks, time is money. Either way, it's going to be about how you should delegate your responsibilities to other people and stop trading your time for money. They love that one. In his book, The 4-Hour Workweek, Tim Ferriss spends an entire chapter or maybe more talking about using virtual assistants from a third world country to do all his work for him. This is pretty much standard business practice anywhere on earth, so it's not exactly controversial to tell your readers hey, you should outsource your work to other people if you want to become rich. But it bothers me because it means that saying, hey, exploit the labor of others without reflecting on the implications of doing so has become such a normal belief that it's a standard part of self-development now. That just kind of sucks. The only way to personally develop is to stand on the backs of people who are more vulnerable than you. That sucks. This sucks. So the biggest and most obvious thing about these books and these lists is that these habits are not going to make you rich. Some of them do get a little bit more complex, and they come up with these systems like habit stacking, right? And it teaches you how to prioritize things. But doing these simple things is not, and I cannot stress this enough, going to make you rich or successful or happy. But you know what will? Kelgore's signature wealth habits. Normally this is the part of the video where I tell you how you can help, but instead today I'm going to be giving you the real secrets on how you can have millionaire success, billionaire even. Number 1, be born into wealth. This one is a no-brainer. I do not know why more poor people don't do this. Number 2, exercise your privilege. Since you already have a leg up in life, be sure to use it, golden boy. Number 3, exploit the system and others. Hate the game, not the player, am I right? Number 4, nepotism and elite networking. Again, this is just one of those things that poor people do not do because they're not related to anybody at the top of the company. And number 5, fraud. Plain and simple. If you're gonna make it, you're gonna at least need to do a little bit of fraud. After all, you wouldn't want to pay taxes. The thing is, the reason I make these videos is because as long as we, the regular ass people, think that there's ever a chance of becoming rich, we're never gonna come together to fight back. As long as they can distract us from our outrage by dangling a little millionaire carrot on the end of a habit stick, they win. We have to stop believing that wealth is anything other than systemic. Even if you aren't born wealthy, the only way to get wealthy and stay wealthy is by exploiting someone else. As long as Mark Wahlberg is waking up at 2 a.m., dudes everywhere will be believing in the dream. So stop wanting to become them, stop emulating them, and start fighting back for yourself and for other people. Be sure to share your thoughts in the comments, share your love with your fellow human beings, and share your wisdom by sharing this video somewhere online. I don't know, maybe Reddit, maybe Facebook, I don't know. Oh, and if you've got it, share the wealth by subscribing to my Patreon fan club. Ooh, got you at the last minute there with the Patreon plug. Seriously though, please do it. JK, I love you, please do it. I love you, please.